Ashamed to ask, ashamed to admit, got Jewy questions. This is it, this is it. Wise, wicked, simple, or unsure how to ask. We'll open up the books, the ark. We'll open up your cynical heart. No such a thing as a dumb question, okay, that's mostly true. Tammy and Shoshana are here for you. Ashamed to admit, ashamed to ask.
It's everything you didn't get in Jewish studies class.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Ashamed to Admit, a Jewish independent podcast. I'm Tammy Sussman.
I am Shoshana Gottlieb-Becker.
Hey Shoshana, It's the 21st of Adar today, were you aware?
I know.
I'm really into the Jewish calendar now.
You're into it?
You got me into it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
A trendsetter.
Do you know what Jewish communities around the world do on the 21st of Adar?
No, I don't. It's not Purim.
It's a kind of Purim.
Oh.
So this is what I've learned.
I'm ashamed to admit I don't know what happened on the 21st of Adar.
All right, so some Jewish communities around the world commemorate what they call Purim Narbonne, which is when we remember the rescue of the city's Jews from a violent riot in the year 1236.
Wow.
Following the intervention by the governor of Narbonne. So what happened was, Narbonne's in France, and we're in 1236, and from memory, there's a fisherman, a Jewish fisherman, and a non-Jewish fisherman. And the Jewish fisherman and the non-Jewish fisherman get into a fight, and the Jewish fisherman, I've said that way too many times, accidentally kills the Gentile fisherman.
Like Cain and Abel, but for fish. I mean...
And then the city's population decide to take it out on the Jews.
Classic.
Again.
Classic.
So the governor of Narbonne did
Had to,
something.
intervene.
He intervened.
That's nice.
He came good.
Nice.
Yeah, he did the bare minimum, but what these days we really appreciate is he said, you shouldn't do that.
Don't kill those Jews.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm pretty sure he even brought in some people that, like the army or something, to protect them.
You could tell me anything right now and I'd be like, great. Sounds legit.
So am I teaching you something this episode?
There you go. It's bound to happen eventually.
At some point.
Some point.
So, Shoshana Gottlieb-Becker, my question for you is, what type of Judaism were the Jews of France in 1236 practicing?
Fantastic question.
Like Hasidic?
No.
Reform?
No.
Masorti?
No. They would be practicing Ashkenazi Judaism.
Okay.
And the answer is they're practicing something that resembles Orthodoxy in some way. It's not called that because, as far as I know, from what I've learned, Orthodoxy as a means of retaining and conserving tradition arises in reaction to reform. So we can assume that until there was the opposition, let's say, using air quotes if you're listening only, until there was the opposition of reform, we can assume they were in little towns and they're going about their day and they're just practicing halacha and living their lives as little Orthodox Jews. Probably wearing a hat.
Okay. But not the furry hat, the straight
No, that's like more Strimel, nice, yeah.
Yeah.
That's more Soviet, like Russian Empire,
Okay.
16th century-esque.
Because it was cold.
Because it's cold, but also it is what the upper class of the Russian Empire were wearing.
Oh,
And so it's supposed to emulate royalty and wealth.
Okay.
But you're doing that for God.
All right.
Yeah.
So far, you've mentioned quite a few denominations or affiliations or group chats under
GCs, yeah.
the Jewish umbrella. So today's episode, we're going to get into the main Jewish denominations in Australia, which is where we record this podcast.
Yes.
Because one of your followers was curious to know if...
What are the differences?
What are the differences between
Yeah.
here and other parts of the world? So what are the different types of denominations in Australia?
Australian Jewry, I think, is one of the most unique Jewries in terms of how the different sorts of Jewish practice permutates as it encounters the Australian identity, I think is really interesting. So, and again, this is all as far as I know, right? So I feel like I have to disclaimer every time that it's my opinion. It does not reflect,
The opinion of all Jews in Australia.
It might not even reflect fact sometimes, because maybe I get things wrong. Who knows? But as far as I understand, reform in Australia is slightly different to reform in America because they're in different places, and they are evolving in different places, and they come under the same banner. Right, like actual banner of World Progressive Judaism, but they are separate entities. And so one of the differences, one of the biggest things that separates Orthodoxy from Reform Jewry is the fact that, and kind of this misnomer, Reform Jews accept patrilineal Jews as Jews, right? Jews born to a Jewish father instead of a Jewish mother.
Yeah.
In Australia, and again, maybe we should have Rabbi Nino as a guest to prove me wrong, but as far as I understand, they don't actually accept patrilineal Jews, and there is still a form of conversion that patrilineal Jews have to go through in order to be considered Jewish.
Okay, so what I know, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Rabbi Nino, who you've mentioned, who's the female rabbi of Sydney's eastern suburbs Reform Synagogue, would accept patrilineal, but the majority congregation within that would not. Okay,
but they function together as a kahila, right? And so from what I again, we don't have to keep preempting from what I understand.
Oh, okay,
I think everyone understands that it's from what we understand.
Okay.
But it's when we say acceptance, it's not that you're going to be barred from attending that congregation, but it's in order to be counted as a Jewish person in their community, kahila, there has to be some kind of formal process of conversion.
You mean if someone wants to have a b'nai mitzvah there or wants to get married there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and oftentimes it will involve study if they haven't been involved in community. Sometimes it's just like a ceremonial dunk, but there is still, and that's a really big difference from America and from England also. All of these different places have different timelines of how they are navigating what everyone assumes is a given in reform circles, which is patrilineal Jewry, which I think is interesting. But anyway, there are other differences with reform, right? It started a long time ago. It started in the 19th century, I'm pretty sure, mid-19th century, at a time around the Enlightenment, right? So the European Enlightenment, about science and individual freedoms and philosophy and nationalism, all these things are being conceived of in the broader secular world. And a bunch of Jews are like, well, we should modernize, right? We are scientific men and women, I guess. And so let's bring it into this century. And again, from what I understand, it's to bring it to become more modern and more German, it becomes more Christian.
Right.
And so the prayers are done in German instead of in Hebrew to make it more modern.
Can you say that again? It was very quick.
Sorry, the prayers are done in German instead of in Hebrew.
The prayers are done?
The prayers
are done.
The prayers are done.
Okay.
The prayers are done in German.
Ah.
If you understood me on my first time saying that, leave a comment below. The prayers are done in German instead of Hebrew to make it more accessible. The services are changed. I think maybe even the buildings resemble more church-like, church-esque.
Yeah.
I don't know what the word is. There's a new thing called confirmation, which is introduced, which, again, I was not raised in reform circles, so a lot of the stuff and research I've done since childhood and early adulthood, I'm missing bits and pieces.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm like, sort of...
There are gaps in knowledge as well.
Because I'm not going to lie to you, Orthodox people don't teach about reform.
They don't.
Because they don't like reform.
Correct.
There's big broigus, family broigus between the two, yeah. Anyway, so, and then it goes to America and it starts to evolve again there. And then, do you know how conservative Judaism is created, essentially?
No. You mean conservative, which is
Big
different.
C.
Yes.
So we use big C, small c.
Yes.
Small c being when you have old-fashioned
Yes.
conservative views.
Yes.
Big C, conservative Judaism, is a branch of Judaism.
Yeah.
And the story goes, allegedly, that it's a broigus around food. And it's something called the Treif banquet, the Treifa banquet, where at a rabbinical school ordination banquet gala dinner for the Reform movement, they served non-kosher food. And it's not, so there was no pork, but they had shellfish and they had other things that, like frog's legs, all these things that are really not kosher. And some rabbis there were like, this crosses a line. This is a Jewish institution and look at what they're doing. We need something that's not Reform. They've gone too far. And I think it's really fascinating that that's the instigator. Again, in this whole grandiose myth of stuff, of Jewish life, that was the instigator for the conservative movement to be born, where they say that tradition is really important and we strive in some ways to retain halacha and traditional observance, because that's still really important to us culturally and religiously and all of that stuff, but also we're bringing it into the modern world. And so conservative Judaism and Masorti Judaism are the same in that.
Okay, that was going to be my question.
So Masorti is the Hebrew word, and so it's used in Israel, it's used in Australia, I think in America it's called still conservative. The thing in Israel though that's really funny is that Masorti also just means tradition or traditional. And so if you ask a random Israeli on the street if they're Masorti, they will say yes, but what they mean by that is they are a secular traditional Jew, which is like the non-practicing Orthodox kind of Masorti. They are small m Masorti, not big M Masorti.
Okay.
So there's that confusion is just thrown in a little bit as well.
Is it true that the majority of Israelis are secular?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, most Israelis are secular Israelis.
All right.
Don't quote me on that. I'm just thinking the raw data. No, it makes sense that most of them are Chiloni, are secular.
I need to make a highlights reel of you saying, don't quote me on that. Yeah. Don't quote me on that.
No, the reason I'm unsure is that I know that in umpteen years' time, they're worried about sort of the population growth charts because Chilonim or secular Israelis have children at smaller rates than Haredim do, ultra-Orthodox. And what does that mean when you're in a country where some of your citizens don't want to partake in conscription?
Yes.
And so that's why, for a second, I wasn't sure, but I'm pretty sure it's still that the secular are the majority.
Okay. So are there any people that you want to talk about?
You can't say his name.
Okay. So
say it. Tammy's just read a name on the sheet and she can't say it.
Rav Soloveitchik?
Nice.
Yeah?
Yeah, Rav Soloveitchik.
Okay.
So
what's her story?
His story?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Rav isn't her first name.
Okay.
Rav means rabbi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
Rav Soloveitchik is one of the modern Orthodox, not creator of modern Orthodoxy, but one of the biggest names in modern Orthodoxy. Because if we're talking about, on one side of the religious spectrum, you've got the Reform movement, and then stuff to the left of that. We don't really have that in Australia, like Reconstructionist folk and all of that. We don't really have that here. We've got Reform, we've got Orthodox on the other side, but then you've got modern Orthodox, right? Because Orthodoxy is the spectrum.
In the middle. But hang on, what about the egalitarian, like in Sydney we have Ayelet HaShachar and in Melbourne we have Kolenu.
Yeah, we can get there.
Okay, but I'm saying, wouldn't they be more...
I wouldn't call them left to Reform. I would call them akin to Reform.
Oh, okay.
They're not really organised denominations, right, in Australia at least. They are open to all. They believe in, Jewish culture, tradition. I think most of their members would probably be secular. I don't know, what other notes did I write?
Do you want to go there now or come back to that?
Let's come back to it.
All right, we'll circle back.
We'll circle back because, so you've got Reform, I would say, on the left-hand side. You've got Orthodox on the right, but Orthodoxy is the spectrum. And modern Orthodoxy is also kind of its own thing, right? Because Orthodoxy, it might sound controversial to say, but I said at the beginning, Orthodoxy a lot of the time, it feels really what's the word I'm looking for?
Intense. Rigid.
Yeah, no,
Judging.
it's reactionary. I would say that orthodoxy is somewhat reactionary, right? It sees a threat of modernity. It reacts to that. We have to hunker down. We have to make sure that we're retaining these traditions as best we can. Nothing from the outside, like that sort of cordoning off. Modern Orthodox people believe in this thing called Torah Umada, right? So it's Torah, but it's also knowledge. And so we can be practicing people. We can believe in God. We can have halacha as our guiding light in this world. But also we have to live in the modern world, right? It's literally like Torah and science at the same time. That is what we're working with. And Rav Soloveitchik is a really big part of that in America, again, in the 20th century. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks was really big that, right? He had something slightly different, Torah or Chochmah, which is that it's Torah wisdom, but it's also intellectualism in general, and making sure that we are very well read outside of the Jewish realm as well. Those things, to be able to exist in this world and be functioning members of our society, we have to let in some level of modernity into our intellectual sphere. So that's its own thing. But then modern Orthodoxy is a really huge spectrum, because you can have someone who, keeps absolutely everything and then is an accountant and he sees himself as modern Orthodox. But then you also have someone who eats vegan out or eats fish at restaurants, just won't eat and they also call themselves modern Orthodox, like spectrum.
Yes. A lot of spectrums in Judaism.
Lots of spectrums in Judaism. So yeah, so that's modern Orthodoxy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we've got, on the more religious end of the spectrum, would you say that then there's Hasidic, or is that Orthodox?
So
what's the most extreme?
Okay, so Orthodoxy is a label given to religious Jews, right? And some there's Orthodox Union and things like that, but mostly it's a really big blanket term. And then you've got things like ultra Orthodox.
Yes.
Okay, so in Jewish words, we use the words like Haredi.
Yeah.
Haredi person is ultra Orthodox.
Right.
A Hasidic person is also ultra Orthodox, right? They all fall under that banner. They're just practicing different versions of a very intense religious existence.
Okay.
But Hasidism or Hasidut is its own kind of religious practice that sprang up again in like the 17th, 18th century.
Okay.
In Eastern Europe, Russian Empire, Ukraine, that kind of area, led by a man named the Baal Shem Tov. And so what happened is that he's one guy, he invents this concept of Hasidus, which is Jewish mysticism built on things like Kabbalah. It's supposed to taking a step back, there's a different guy called Shabtai Tzvi, who was a false messiah. Maybe we can do an episode on him. I love that guy. Take a step back again. No, I'm kidding. So basically in Europe, there's this whole thing that happens where rabbis, I'm time checking myself as well, rabbis cancel the concept of mysticism and Kabbalah. They say it's too dangerous. We're not allowed to do that anymore. We're going to become very rigid, very intellectual, nothing wishy-washy, nothing about...
esoteric.
Nothing emotional. This is like an intellectual pursuit of religion. And then what happens is like however many years pass, and it is that religion becomes inaccessible for people who can't afford to send their sons to yeshiva, right? And it's about only the people who can read the books can connect. And then it sort of reverts back. You've got a guy named the Baal Shem Tov who makes it about the joy, the emotion, song, the beauty of the world and nature, connecting to God through that as well.
Musical theatre kid.
Exactly. His name's the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov just means master of the good name.
Aww.
Nice guy. And he has lots of disciples all around. And then each of his disciples have disciples, and then it kind of spreads out. So you have all of these different kinds of Hasiduses or Hasidut all come back from this guy, but they've all branched off into their own practice. And an example of that, probably one of the most famous Hasidus groups.
Can I guess? Chabad?
Yes. So they can trace back to the Alter Rebbe, who's a disciple of, like the grand disciple of the Baal Shem Tov.
I was actually talking about Chabad at a Shabbat dinner a week ago, and because I just took for granted Chabad, but I was talking to someone in his almost 70, and he said, they completely, after their arrival in Sydney, Australia, they completely changed the landscape of...
So Chabad's so fascinating because it's different to all other Chassiduses, right? So other Chassiduses you might have heard of as something like Satmar Chassidim,
Yep.
Ger Chassidim. There's like so Wikipedia, like different Chassidic dynasties, and there's like 100 names.
Satmar was the ones in the Netflix series Unorthodox.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
My like Romanian, so like my family used to be Satmar Chassidim.
Okay.
Most Hasidic communities are really insular. It's about again, it's like that Orthodox thing about protecting our way of life. We're
Yes.
closing ourselves off.
Yes.
Chabad opens those gates.
Open door policy.
Right?
Free for all.
No, not a free for all. It's about trying to bring people into religion,
Right.
right? And they view their whole purpose is to bring people closer to religion through Chabad, like Chabad levels of religiousness. But it's that open door policy. And so they go out into the world and they try to make, like the Baal Shem Tov did, they try to make it as accessible to the average person as possible. And that's why you have, when you travel to Bali, a Chabad house there. Because they want you traveling there, or if you are an expat living in Hong Kong or wherever it is, if there is not Jewish community there, they want you to have access to it.
In Melbourne, there is a community called Adas.
So they would be Haredi.
Yeah,
so
we don't have that in Sydney.
There isn't a Adas shul in Sydney, but we don't kind of have that flavour of Haredi.
Yeah.
Who aren't... So when you go back to the Baal Shem Tov, who came about because he believed that, you know, the accessibility of it all, you've also got this group called Misnagdim, or separating it out. So intellectual Judaism, emotional Judaism, and I'm pretty sure that Haredim, Adas Haredim are like this Litvish kind of more intellectual kind of Judaism. It's just all these different places, right? So they are ultra-Orthodox, but they dress differently to how like Hasidish people dress because they don't follow a specific, like they don't follow that mysticism of Hasidus.
Okay.
It's like it's an intellectual pursuit.
Right. I think what we've established is that there are lots of ways to be Jewish in Australia.
So many.
What have I forgotten? Were we going to circle back to...
Yeah, we were going to circle back to, you asked about like Ayelet,
egalitarian-
Egal stuff. Yeah. So the difference between Egal and...
Humanist?
Yeah, like I just didn't think of them as... It's not that they're illegitimate, it's they don't have a governing body. They're very lay-led, but they're Egal. Everyone's invited, it's open to all. They're not, as far as I know, attached to a single movement the same way that other people are.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They could, happy to prove me wrong, but
Yeah.
like, and the thing is it's open to all, but this is also what happens in egalitarian spaces, right? It's very music based and it's Shabbat services and they use instruments for their Shabbat services. So if you happen to be on the more orthodox end of the spectrum, you don't necessarily feel comfortable going there. So the biggest question with Jewishness and denomination and how do we build spaces that cater to all is that it's really hard to, because you're going to cut someone out somewhere. Either you say, well, instruments are a must, so that means that people who are Orthodox don't have this space because they have other spaces. Or you say, okay, we'll cater to that, no instruments, but then you have people who want that to connect and who are secular and don't see that as, you know, a guiding force in their life, that no instruments on Shabbos kind of vibes.
Right.
So I do think it's impossible to have a fully egalitarian space. That's just me.
Have you ever thought of starting a completely new branch of Jewish practice, congregation?
I often think I might be a good cult leader.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've thought about it?
I think I've thought about
Do
it.
you have a good business mind as well?
No, so that's the thing. I'm an ideas person. I need a producer.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be like the face of the cult. But if someone wants to, if someone wants to produce my cult,
You're looking at her right here
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah, it's
I
true.
would make a bad cult leader because,
but you can produce it.
because
Yeah.
introvert and I can only talk to people for 90 minutes and then I get so
Same.
tired.
The true answer is Sky would lead. My wife would lead the cult.
Right.
No, I think I could. It would be a small cult, so I don't have to talk to so many people. But I also think that's a good cult leader. I'm not one of those really friendly, outgoing ones. I'm one of the mysterious ones. You want to get to know more, and I just don't talk to you.
One way of putting it.
Yeah.
I have a question. I have lots of questions, but we're running out of time as usual.
Classic. I have dinner to get to.
So you do. But we should also mention, because this question was about denominations in Australia, we do have Sephardi synagogues, which aren't a different denomination, but they would
Different
do
culturally.
things slightly different.
Yeah, so as far as I know, I don't belong to the Sephardi synagogues
Yeah.
here. They, again, I assume they consider themselves Orthodox.
Oh, I would
in
have
practice.
Modern Orthodox?
Or
No.
modern Orthodox,
Okay.
yeah. But Sephardi, it's just a different tradition.
Yeah.
But in terms of how they're practicing and the standards they hold themselves to, it's Orthodox. It's just Sephardi.
Question. I have a friend, male, who
Yeah.
was engaged to female partner. My friend was Jewish, is Jewish. Female partner at the time wasn't Jewish and was planning to convert Reform. Male friend grew up in a modern Orthodox synagogue, and the rabbi said to him, I would prefer for you to marry non-Jew than someone who's converted Reform.
That's icky to me.
Yeah, but is that a common kind of feeling in Australia, or is that just one rabbi that's just really broigus?
No, I think, like, unfortunately, there's a lot of Reform hate in Australia. I've said it to Reform rabbis' faces that there's the Reform ick that gets like passed generationally through modern Orthodox and Orthodox institutions. So that even the thought of associating for some people with something Reform is like, ugh, like icky.
Yeah.
Which I don't like.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, I think that enough people hate us that we don't need to be hating each other, right? Sinat chinam, baseless hatred's not so nice. I can't tell you if that's what that rabbi said. I don't know if that's particular to him, if other people would hold the same views.
All right. I don't even know if I should leave this in the episode because it might be like perpetuating.
I don't know,
Stuff.
like, it's hard.
Hard to know whether to keep it in or...
No, it's hard to navigate such animosity, you know?
Yeah.
I think more and more people are looking for something that resembles the Masorti synagogue in Australia, right? I think we've spoken about this idea of the non-practicing Orthodox person.
Yes.
And I think people who think deeply about themselves as Jewish people but aren't necessarily buying into a world that is, you know, kind of run by patriarchy and certain levels and ideals. They want something different, more modern. I think that they would actually feel super comfortable in the Masorti synagogue. As someone who has gone through this journey myself, would feel super comfortable at the Masorti synagogue, but there is still that ick attached. And it's just about getting over it. And they don't necessarily know that the Masorti community is there because it's at Reform.
Yes.
It's with the Reform ones.
It's out of bounds.
And so it's a shame because so many people are looking for ways to connect to their Jewishness, and because they don't want to touch Reform, they just like get into Holocaust education. You know what I mean? Like that's the only other thing you can do is in this city.
Yeah.
Like,
So if any of our critics accuse us
oh my
of
God, we're going to
pushing
get cancelled.
a Reform agenda,
No.
I was going to say we absolutely are.
Oh, we are?
No.
I don't push agenda.
You just express your own personal experience.
Yeah. I got married in the Masorti by a Masorti rabbi at the in Emmanuel.
Emmanuel Synagogue.
Emmanuel
in
Synagogue.
Sydney.
That is something that my partner and I discussed, my wife and I discussed. We know that we can't live in modern Orthodox spaces, right? We don't necessarily want to live modern Orthodox, you know, a life as a couple in that way. I still keep halacha in a modern Orthodox way, in my own way, but we're a lesbian couple, you know.
But your wife does quite often wear long skirts.
Oh, she dresses like a Rebbitzin. My friends laugh at me that I have found a lesbian Rebbitzin. Like they're like, there's something psychological happening here that your wife dresses like that and you went through an all-girls school system. And I'm like, yeah, very obviously something's happened. But she's always dressed like that. That's the funny thing. Anyway.
You manifested that.
Maybe we can get permission to post a photo of her in her most Haredi outfit. She also just looks so Hasidish sometimes, and she wears like those head wraps to dry her hair. And then so I have a photo of her and it's like she's wearing a tank top and a long flowing skirt and then this little wrap.
The microfiber.
And I go in and I black out her arms to make her look even more like I add sleeves. And she looks like a Hasidish wife. It's hilarious.
Good for
I
you.
love it. Good for me.
Okay, so today apparently we're playing Charme.
Yeah, Charme.
Or No Charme.
Charme, no Charme.
Okay, Charme, No Charme. Everyone's favourite segment.
It is from a Jewish Australian group, is what you can say.
That's all I can say.
Yeah. So this is from a Jewish Australian group.
You need to describe the picture.
The picture is a plate with 3 hot cross buns on them. Okay. I remember when this happened live. This was happening in multiple groups. Everyone was talking about it. It was the funniest thing in the world. It is beyond acceptable. A Chilul Hashem. A Chilul Hashem is a desecration of God's name. That the rabbis of a certain kashrut agency can certify a Roman Catholic Christian religious celebrated food such as hot cross buns and then encourage Jews to buy and eat them. I write this as one raised Catholic and as a convert. And then it's like, it was still in the times of Facebook where you could add a feeling to your post. And then it says, blach emoji, feeling disgusted. Cinema, theatre, perfection.
It was, and the first comment was also...
I don't remember the comment section,
perfection.
But it was great. When that was happening, when they first certified hot cross buns as kosher, people were going nuts. How dare you do this? That is it. Like, you can't...
Oh, was that a common response?
Yeah, in a bunch of different kosher groups. Like, a lot of people had that sentiment. It's just a delicious sweet bun. It's not even that good.
Well,
it's not even that... I had one, not even that good.
You're going to upset a lot of people. It is, to me, it does taste like raisin toast, which is just not for me.
Raisin toast.
Yeah.
I understand. It's just so funny. We have bigger fish to fry.
The reason why...
We have more fish to gefilte than hot cross buns.
The reason why I did like the first comment or the top rated comment was because someone wrote, with respect, original poster, perhaps as a convert, you are much more inclined to find this offensive than...
Ooh, that's harif.
Yeah.
That's hot, that's spicy.
That is.
No, I think a lot of people I know who were born and raised as Jews also are like, how dare they? And then you have most people who are normal and were like, delicious new snack I can get from Coles. Hooray.
Brilliant.
Good one.
Good one.
All-time classic.
Slay. I'm not allowed to say it, am I?
I mean, you can say whatever
Sounds
you want.
weird when I say it.
You can say it.
That's it for today's show.
You have been watching and or listening to... Why do you always look? I always look at you. I get bullied on my own podcast.
We'll start again. That's it for today's show.
You have been watching and or listening to Ashamed to Admit with me, Shoshana Gottlieb-Becker, and you, Tammy Sussman.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please.
That's my line.
This episode was brought to you by the Jewish Independent with Alleyway Productions. The vocalist in our theme song is Sara Yael, and there are more credits in the show notes.
If you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, if you are a rabbi who wants to yell at us, if you want recommendations for where to go to shul, leave a comment, leave a review, and let us know what you think.
Thank you so much. We'll do it here. Thank you so much, and see you next week.
Bye.